At 2:18 a.m. in Hong Kong's Tai Po district, a nightmare unfolded that would shake the entire city to its core. Residents of the Wang Fuk Court residential complex, thousands of people asleep in towering high-rises, were jolted awake by a deafening crack, like metal snapping under extreme pressure. Then came the glow. A bright, terrifying orange flame rose up the side of one of the towers, racing upward faster than anyone could comprehend. Within minutes, the entire complex became an inferno. It was later described as Hong Kong's deadliest fire in more than half a century, a disaster that spiraled into chaos so quickly that even firefighters, some of the best trained in Asia, struggled to comprehend what they were facing. The blaze began on the lower floors, where bamboo scaffolding and green construction netting had been wrapped around the building for ongoing renovation work. Materials firefighters have long warned can act like a giant vertical fuse. Once the flames reached the netting, the entire exterior ignited like paper soaked in gasoline. Residents described opening their eyes to black smoke flooding their apartments, thick, toxic, and spreading far faster than any normal high-rise fire. People on the 20th and 30th floors woke up disoriented, blinded by smoke so dark they couldn't find door handles, let alone hallways. Some tried to escape by stairwell, only to find the stairs already filled with smoke. Others rushed toward windows and balconies, using towels and wet clothing to try to breathe. But the fire outside was climbing the building so rapidly that many were trapped inside their own homes. Firefighters arrived within minutes, but by the time they reached the scene, flames had already consumed several sides of the tower. The scaffolding created a chimney effect, accelerating the fire upward and sideways, spreading from one building to the next in the 8-tower complex. In the end, 7 of the 8 towers caught fire. From the street, video captured by residents shows a terrifying sight. Entire walls of flame roaring up the buildings, debris falling from 30, 40, 50 stories high, and sparks raining down like molten metal. People screamed from windows as flames climbed past their floors. Others used their phone flashlights, signaling desperately into the darkness. Inside the towers, temperatures soared. Smoke alarms failed in some units. Families covered themselves with blankets and crouched near the floor. A few attempted to reach the rooftop, hoping rescue helicopters would come, but the smoke was too thick and access doors were locked. The fire grew so intense that firefighters had to call for backup from across the city. Thousands of gallons of water were blasted toward the buildings, but the flames kept climbing the scaffolding like it was a ladder. When dawn finally broke, the full scale of the disaster was visible. Charred balconies, blackened walls, entire floors gutted, windows blown out, hallways melted, dozens of apartments now just hollow shells. And then the numbers started coming in. At least 44 people were confirmed dead. Many more were found in unrecognizable conditions inside stairwells, hallways, and apartments sealed by smoke. But the most chilling number: 279 people reported missing. Families gathered outside the complex, holding photos of their loved ones, pleading for information. Some waited through the night, praying they would hear their relative's name on the survivor list. Children, grandparents, foreign domestic workers, entire families vanished. As the investigation began, anger grew. Within 48 hours, 3 men were arrested, 2 company directors and an engineering consultant, on suspicion of manslaughter. Authorities believe severe negligence in renovation safety, faulty fire protection measures, and the dangerous use of flammable scaffolding all contributed to the catastrophe. One official described the system failure as a perfect storm of everything that should never happen during building renovations. Renovation netting, meant to catch debris, acted instead as a fuel sheet. Bamboo scaffolding, traditional in Hong Kong, became a vertical highway for fire. Fire barriers were reportedly compromised, smoke ventilation systems malfunctioned, and water pipes on some levels may have been shut off during renovation. Residents had complained for weeks about the renovation debris blocking emergency exits. But the warnings were ignored. In the aftermath, firefighters who entered the buildings described scenes of extreme tragedy. They found entire families huddled together in bathrooms. Victims collapsed near windows, overcome by smoke before help could reach them. One firefighter said it was the worst scene he had witnessed in his 22-year career. From above, drone footage shows interior corridors burned to their concrete skeletons. Balconies twisted and melted, air conditioning units hanging like torn metal scraps. The ground beneath the towers is littered with glass, ash, and fragments of collapsed balconies. For survivors, the trauma is immense. One woman who escaped from the 12th floor said she crawled down 11 flights of stairs through pitch-black smoke, unable to breathe, guided only by the screams of other residents. "I thought I was going to die," she said. "We held the railings and prayed the stairs wouldn't collapse." Another man on the 28th floor tied bedsheets together so his family could climb down to a lower balcony where firefighters reached them. He said, "The fire outside was faster than anything I've ever seen. It moved like it was alive." Hong Kong's high-rise culture, over 7,000 skyscrapers stacked tightly together, means fire safety isn't just important, it's life and death. But this disaster exposed cracks in the system, especially when renovation work is involved. Experts are now calling for a complete overhaul of high-rise fire safety, especially the use of bamboo scaffolding and external netting. The Guardian reported that the wind funneled through the towers created a bellows effect, feeding oxygen directly into the flaming scaffolding and accelerating the spread. Engineers say modern materials like steel scaffolding and fire-retardant wraps could prevent disasters like this, but many developers still choose cheaper traditional methods. As smoke cleared through the afternoon, the skyline of Tai Po was barely recognisable. Some towers were black from bottom to top. Fire hoses still poured water onto hotspots. Hundreds of people lined up for emergency shelter. Pets wandered the streets, disoriented and burnt. The fire is now officially classified as Hong Kong's worst residential blaze in 63 years, the deadliest since the 1960s. Even days later, search and rescue operations continued. Firefighters moving floor by floor, room by room through hazardous, unstable corridors. Each hour revealed new names on the casualty list. Families braced themselves at hospitals, clutching paperwork, answering questions, fearing the worst. The investigation is ongoing, but early evidence points to multiple layers of negligence. Flammable netting, unsafe renovation practices, compromised fire exits, scaffolding without fire barriers, poor evacuation planning, regulatory oversight failures. Hong Kong officials now face massive pressure. Parents are demanding answers, survivors want accountability, and architects warn that dozens, maybe hundreds of buildings across the city use the same renovation setup, meaning this disaster could happen again. Tonight, the Wang Fuk Court towers stand as haunting silhouettes, towering reminders of one of the most devastating urban fires in modern Hong Kong history. And as search teams continue their work inside the scorched buildings, one question echoes across the city. How could a high-rise home for thousands turn into a towering inferno in just minutes?